Toen waren we tot trots mensen.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Foundation Deel 2 Choreography, I want to welcome you all on this very special day. Today we honor Arman Peterson, who was a rising star in the United States Army Air Forces. Colonel Pete was killed on the 1st of July, exactly 68 years ago. He was a natural born leader, loved by his men of the 78th Fighter Group, which he was a commanding officer of. But most of all, he was a son, a brother, a loving father and husband. In his time, he flew many planes. We saw that in all the files we retrieved from the National Archives. Just some, it's the A-17, it's the PT-9, just the name son, P-29. The 86, which we'll see later this day, performing a flight pass. A P-36, P-40, just to name a few. And with most of the planes, he visited his parents. When he was stationed in the area, he just took a plane and flew by. Arman was promoted to major and he became the group commander of the 78th Fighter Group. They went to Dutchford, they were reassigned to Dutchford, and from this base he flew his first mission about April 8th. And on 26th of May 1943, the airfield was officially handed over by the Queen Elizabeth and King George VI of England. Where we see Arman Peterson shaking hands with the Queen and the King. Here he is at the control tower, standing next to the Queen. And the mission of the 1st of July 1943, they were on a fighter sweep, which would be along the coast of the Netherlands, Belgium and France. And Arman led this mission like he did on every mission, because instead of leading the 78th Fighter Group from his desk, he took off on every mission, sometimes even twice a day. And this day he led the 4th, 56th and the 78th Fighter Group, totaling 129 planes. And when they reached the Dutch coast, Arman sighted a group of German Fokker-Wulfs. And it's always in his calm voice, when he drove his fighter violently down on the leading German plane, asking a wingman to follow him. And with this first attack, he disarrayed the German aircraft and he pulled up to gain height for a new attack. The last which was seen of him was disappearing him into the clouds, because it's asking if his wingman was still with him. But his wingman couldn't just keep up with him. It was the last that was seen of him. The next thing that was witnessed was a parachute, but that was the only thing. When the dogfight was over and the pilots returned to Dutchford, and Arman was still back at the airbase, some of the pilots and the ground crew lined up the planes again, and without any order they flew a search mission to find Arman back, but unfortunately they didn't. Because what happened is that after he gained height for a new attack, he was attacked by this person on the left, which is Veldwebel Martin Lascher. He's from the Jackerswaarder 1. We don't know how, or because Arman was a very experienced pilot, but he shot him down. And we also know this because of Martin Lascher's log we have. And in this log he writes on the 1st of July at about 1600 hours 4 that he shot down a P-47. And since the only loss of the Americans that day was Arman, he could find back that he was the one who shot down Arman. He bailed out and that he was shot down by a German soldier back on the ground. I will end with this. Arman Peterson as a young boy, later as a colonel, and his gravesite in Thatcher, Arizona, where he rests in peace today. So, Colonel Pete, as he was called by his pilots, lest we forget.
In May 20th, 1915, my Uncle Arman was born in Thatcher, Arizona. He was welcomed into a family of 2 older brothers and 3 older sisters. And 3 years later, the youngest and last child was born, Laurel, whose son is over here. We always wondered where they got the name Arman. Well, my grandfather and his wife loved Shakespeare, and one time a wonderful Shakespearean actor came through town, and they thought he was the best performer of Shakespeare they had ever seen, and his last name was Arman, and thus the name Arman came about. Their father, who was called AC, taught them how to use a gun. He loved to go hunting. And so by the time the boys were in high school, they were excellent marksmen. He took his studies very seriously and had the highest grades in every subject. He was so well liked by his fellow students that he was chosen the president of the student body as well. During his junior high and high school years, he took a liking to playing the violin, and by the time he graduated from high school, he was an accomplished violinist. He practiced an hour every day, and he could have become a professional musician, following after the example of his grandfather in Chicago, who was a professional musician. In college, he was very involved in many activities. He was a debater, editor of the student newspaper, and twice was chosen the student body president. He worked after school at Schmidt Jewelry Store and then later at Weber Brothers Garage and Service Station. While in college, he met the love of his life, Juliet, known as Julie Osborne. She was also very popular and was the homecoming queen, and together they were a stunning couple. They married August 15th of 1938. When they were getting ready to get married, Arman knew that Julie was a wonderful seamstress, so he sent her a parachute made of silk that was deemed no longer one that could be used. And she took that silk of the parachute and made a beautiful wedding dress. They had one daughter who was born in 1942 named Susan. One story to show a lot of the character of my uncle was he hated to do harm to anyone. When he was picking beets, there was a young boy who constantly was bullying him. Now his older brother told him he had to fight back. Finally, Arman did retaliate and beat the kid up, and the young boy was crying and crying. But they looked up and saw that Arman was crying as well, for he felt terrible that he had hurt this young man. Arman's brother Dell was also in the service in Burma, and he wrote a letter to Arman and said, "Congratulations, I heard you had your first kill of a German." Arman replied immediately, "Don't ever write such a letter to me again. There is no pleasure in knowing you have killed a man." And I want to say to Uncle Arman, I know he's here in spirit today, that I hope he's proud of his nieces and nephews and his daughter who have tried very hard to follow his example. And I want to thank Dennis so much, and all of you who have worked so hard to put this together, because our families would not talk much about him because it was so painful. And now we are able to talk together, and his daughter Susie is slowly coming back to be part of the family. So Dennis, bless you.
Goedendag mensen, alle hartelijk welkom op deze bijzondere dag. waar wij de Amerikaanse kolonel Peterson gaan eren. Dat doen we onder andere door het onthullen van dit monument. En na deze ceremonie gaan wij nog naar de Oostdijk, op de hoek van de Klaverseweg, Hofdijkseweg, waar wij nog het informatiepaneel zullen onthullen, waar kolonel Peterson om het leven is gekomen. Bij deze wil ik graag de burgemeester van de Velde uitnodigen voor het welkomstwoord.
Ja, beste mensen, namens gemeente Goederede een bijzonder welkom op deze bijzondere plek hier op de begraafplaats in Goederede. Dennis zei het al, wij eren vandaag kolonel Arman Peterson. Hij heeft hier kort begraven gelegen op de plek waar straks het monumentje wordt onthuld. Wij zijn bijzonder verheugd dat een aantal familieleden van hem vanmiddag bij deze ceremonie aanwezig kan zijn. Er zijn 2 neven aanwezig van de heer Peterson en er is een nicht aanwezig van de heer Peterson. Zij hebben de verre reis uit Amerika gemaakt. Het bijzondere is dat doordat zowel de stichting deze zoektocht is begonnen, ook zij als familie weer heel erg veel contact met elkaar hebben. Ook met de dochter van Arman Peterson. En dat maakt het sowieso bijzonder als je hoort achteraf wat dit soort ceremonies voor gevolgen hebben. En waarmee wij zeker richting de nabestaanden aantonen, mede door hun inzet, dat wij nog altijd heel veel te danken hebben aan al die jonge mensen die destijds in 40-45 het leven lieten voor onze vrijheid. Voor het feit dat wij hier nu gewoon kunnen doen wat wij graag willen doen. En dat het goed is dat we daar zo af en toe heel intens bij stilstaan. En zo'n moment hebben wij vanmiddag, waarbij ik zelf toch zo af en toe gewoon de rillingen over mijn rug krijg over de intentie wat we met elkaar voelen, wat we met elkaar delen. En hoe wij met elkaar hier aanwezig rondom de familie proberen om de gedachtenis aan al deze mensen die zo jong hun leven lieten. En waarbij toch achterblijvende familieleden met een groot gemis achterbleven. In dat besef en beseffende wat dat betekent voor nabestaanden, dat we dat vanmiddag met elkaar heel intens delen. Ik wens u een hele bijzondere ceremonie toe. Dank u wel.
I would now like to invite Brian Ellsworth. He's Arman Peterson's cousin, and he will read a poem which was written by John Gillespie McGee Jr. He was an American, and he was one of the Americans who crossed illegally the border to Canada in 1941 to join the Royal Canadian Air Force and fight the Nazis. Brian.
High flight. Oh, I have slipped the surely bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sunlit clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung. High in the sunlit silence, hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long delirious burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or ever eagle flew, and while with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
I would now like to invite John Hales, Martha Ball, to unveil the monument.
Thank you for your very kind invitation to attend today at our memorial dedication to Colonel Arman Peterson. It's without a doubt an honor and a privilege to represent the United States of America and the United States Air Force. This is a day of remembrance and a day of thanks. I'm not related to Colonel Peterson by blood, but I am related by calling and by commission. By calling as a pilot and by commission as an officer in the United States military. Those bonds are thick, and from those bonds, I speak to you today. On that day, he probably could have stayed on the ground in his office to take care of some of the thousands of responsibilities that fell to him. But that wasn't his way. The men under his command demonstrated how much they cared for him when, after he went missing, another Colonel Davis and 3 of his comrades staged immediately a search and rescue mission to try to find him. He was invaluable to the operations and to the morale of his unit. Thank you for your time, thank you for your invitation, and thank you for always remembering.
You heard about Colonel Pete. To us, he was Uncle Arman. And I would think the 2 things that would describe him to all of us today: he was a flyer and he was a family member. As a flyer, he loved the thrill, he loved the challenge of flying aircraft. That was the Colonel Pete. To us, it was always Uncle Arman. He always had a smile on his face. He always made people proud. Hopefully this day will go on. You will remember, all of you, those in your lives that served, and whether they paid the ultimate price or not, they did what they were asked to do. Dennis, it's been a year and a half for me personally, looking forward to this day. But for the family of Colonel Peterson, Uncle Arman, it's been 68 years. So again, thank every one of you for being here today, sharing this important time with us, the Peterson family. And I sincerely hope every year you will see more of the Peterson family, as we want to become involved and see what you have done and see the final resting spot where Uncle Arman laid to rest. Thank you.
I'd first like to invite the Peterson family. And on behalf of the United States Air Force, Captain Daniel Davis. On behalf of the municipality of Goede Reden and the foundation WO2 Choreography, Mrs. van der Velde, Kees Stoutjesdijk. On behalf of the Dutch Royal Air Force, Warrant Officer Martin Snickers. De Dutch representatives of the Bomber Command Association, Christel Strebers en Ger Boogmans. On behalf of Keep Them Rolling, Jan Rauw. And at last, on behalf of the Notenboom family, my kids, Sanne and Brent. Ladies and gentlemen, right on time, on the second. Dames en heren, ik heb geen microfoon nou, dus ik zal mijn stem nog wel even moeten verheffen. Ik hoop dat u het toch kunt horen. We zijn hier dus op de plaats beland waar Colonel Arman Peterson om het leven kwam. Hij is uit die richting gekomen, er stond een noordoostenwind. En ooggetuigen zagen hem ook hierheen dwalen, zeg maar. Nou, misschien heeft u het al gezien, op uw weg hierheen staan daar een aantal Duitse bunkers. Dus we kunnen er wel vanuit gaan dat de Duitse troepen die hem beschoten hebben, daar gelegen waren. Ze schoten hem dus, zijn parachute scheurde en hij stortte hier in het veld neer. John, Brian, Rosie, Martha, would you do the honors to unveil the information panel?
The only thing I'll say is thank you again for doing this. It's wonderful. We're glad to be here, and thank you for all your efforts to remember all those who served.
Certainly have warm feelings for all of you who have come today. Thank you.
This is kind of like giving him back to us after he's been gone so long, because it's been something we didn't talk about a lot, and it's kind of been a healing, so we thank you.
And by the way, we think he looks the most like Uncle Arman of any of the grandchildren, particularly the smile. Very difficult. You look at the picture. Oh, it is a culmination of many years of knowing about our Uncle Arman, but not knowing the details of how he actually died.
Well, I'm impressed with the gratitude there is amongst the Dutch people for their heritage and for their liberty.
And to stand out there and look at the field and think of the thoughts that must have been going through his mind.
Before it was just the war. He was gone in the war, and the war's huge. Where? Who knows? I mean, it was just in the sky. And now it's something tangible, a very specific place, some details.
Maar ik heb dat zien gebeuren ook. Dus dat is heel indrukwekkend. Ja.
En hoe oud was u, als ik mag vragen?
6 jaar.
6 jaar.
Ja.
But I'm so grateful to Dennis and all of the Dutch people for caring.
Ja, elk geval heeft weer een apart verhaal. Nou, dit verhaal trok mij persoonlijk zeer aan. Ik ben er ook heel erg betrokken bij geraakt, ook met de familie. Dus voor mij is het eigenlijk, ik mag het haast niet zeggen, maar net zo bijzonder als voor de familie deze dag.
Die bunkers die zaten daar overal en dan hoorde je dat schieten. Hè? Dat heb ik allemaal gehoord.
We hadden natuurlijk om 4:45 hadden we een flyby. En ja, die komen gewoon om 4:45. Ja. En als je dan nog midden in een speech bezig bent, dat is niet netjes. Dus dat ging op zich, ja.
I was able to share with some of my Dutch colleagues in the Dutch Air Force that I was coming out here, and they showed a great interest, and several of them knew not of this event, but of the events around Holland that happened to commemorate, the people that gave their lives in the Tweede Wereldoorlog.
Want als hij het vliegtuig verlaat, natuurlijk hoorde je een klap. En toen zagen we in ene keer, ja, dat is een met apparatuur en dat vliegtuig dat ging verder.
And also some of the Americans are quite interested that this sort of thing goes on, because in America, we have the history, but it's not right here. The geschiedenis isn't, we're not walking in it.
Nou, je hebt het hele programma in je hoofd, dus ja, er gaan altijd wel dingetjes fout, maar die zien de meeste mensen niet. Maar over het algemeen, mogen we niet klagen. Het is weer een geslaagde dag geweest, voornamelijk voor de familie. Dat is toch waar we het voor doen.
And for those who didn't come, we took a lot of pictures. We were able to, we'll be able to tell them about it.
And so it's a great honor to be here today to remember him and to learn from him also. In my preparation for my comments, I had to learn quite a lot.